I'm not really sure people understand what the resilience is from a physics point of view, in terms of definition, and from a human point of view. So during this discussion, maybe we're going to eviscerate a little bit more what is the understanding of this.
I would say it's about love, and love in terms of the quality of love that you have towards yourself and the quality of love you have with others really determines how resilient you will be when you're faced with trials, emotional, mental, physical trials. So really that relationship, that loving relationship with self, that loving relationship with others really, really determines the strength of resiliency you will have when experiencing hardships.
What for me is a definition of resilience. In physics, resilience is the capability of an object to absorb energy without changing permanently its structures. And translating in poor word, if you take a small piece of wood and you bend it and you release it, it comes back on its original position. If you bend it too much, it cracks. So at that moment, it's not capable anymore to come back to its original status. The resilience is the same. So how much things you can metabolize and come back to your original status, mentally and emotionally. They will reach a point where you take too much and you crack. So you will never come back to your original status. We have to understand that we all go through things in life. The problem is because we are talking about physics, so a quality of something, we are not all built on the same way. And when I say built on the same way, I'm not talking about the biological structure of a person. I'm talking about of the psychological structure, so the architecture that our education heritage is built upon.
This is taken from probably a slightly different direction than physics, but to me, if we look at an object, take a human being, and you're moving through your life, something terrible, horrible, whatever happens to you, you're absorbing it, right? You're absorbing pain, pleasure, whatever else is associated with that. More often, negative emotions will come about, right? To me, resilience is absorbing it, like you said, not being resistant, but absorbing it, understanding it. And then, and I think this is the part that I have personally struggled with, when this happens, there's a moment of choice. There's always a moment of choice. Do I stay where I'm going, or do I change directions, right? For those of us who are parents, right? You're going down the path. When the baby arrives, you could take all your plans and throw them out the window because they no longer matter because now you're a parent. So those are moments of choice, right? And I would call those critical decision points. Like Natalie said, you've got to have faith in other things because you may not be able to see the next steps by making that choice. And to me, no matter what society you belong to, family structure, religion, it doesn't really matter at that certain human level is when you get to that point and you make that choice, sometimes you have to go down a path that is completely dark. There's no light. You can't see the next step. And that's where your faith has to come in. In my life, when I went to graduate school, I didn't have any funding. I had the money in my pocket and all my possessions fit in the trunk of my car. And I drove halfway across the country and it took a month to get everything done. And every single day I was scared to death, 24 hours a day for a month. And it all came together. Now looking back like that, I don't know if I could do that again, but I now have the experience to say, well, now I can see what the process is.
Sudden loss for a family member, it's very hard. I lost my parents 20 years ago, but when first time you experience someone is leaving from your family in any way, forever, is very hard. But as I said, and I say every time, when you have faith, that's gonna solve everything, because at that moment you'll be sad, you'll cry, you'll miss them, and I gave myself the time to experience that pain. I didn't let myself to be, to avoid that pain. I cried a lot, and I talked with him. Even I'm like 7,000 miles. I'm United States, and he was in Middle East. And I talked with him loudly. Talked with him, and I expressed my emotion to him. And I cried a lot because I knew, and I'm a life coach, that most. I'm a life, so I'm helping other people to go through these moments. So for me, it was just live the pain, Nala. Live the pain, but don't do it more than what's required.
You started the day you were born, Musa. You opened your eyes, and absolutely everything you saw was brand new. You never saw it before. Then, when you were young, you went to school, and you had a different group of people telling you what to do. That was a new day, and you saw something new. So faith, when I say faith is believing in something you cannot see, it can be a lot of things to a lot of people. But for me, like I told, kind of what I was trying to articulate before is, faith is taking a step in a direction that you're unsure of. After the deaths in your family, right? The next time their birthday or a holiday rolls around and you realize they will not be there, it hits you again. You think you're done. You think you've gone through the process. No, you haven't. Every single year, you will be reminded of them. 2, 3, 4, 5 times you will remind you. Massimo sees his friend Roberto every single day. Still does. So to me, when you have faith, that means you're going to have to believe in something you cannot see.
I like what you say, David, because you touched something, and talking to you, I'm going to answer also to Fadia. We have this bad wiring in our heads, always to look at the things that we don't have. And we never see the things that we have. But also, we always listen to the negative things without accounting for the positive things. Sometimes I think we are all on LinkedIn and we post things. Sometimes we got 50, 100 comments on a post, all positive. Oh, the school, very nice, I agree with you. And then someone, oh no, this is crap. And you cannot sleep for that only one person. So you forget completely that another 100 people are backing you up, telling that you're right, but you still focus on the only one person that say, no, you are no good. And the same happens when things that don't work in life. I mean, Fadia says something. How do you manage when the things don't go the way that you want them to go? I mean, sometimes we drive, we take a puncture in the car, and we think that the world collapses. Oh, I can drive forward. But stop for a moment, look around. Maybe it's a wonderful place. Maybe it's the right place to do a picnic. While you're waiting for someone to change the tire, you have the time of your life. We always have this tendency to focus and magnify the negative things that people tell us or that happen to us, rather than focus on the strengths and the positive things that we already own and no one can touch us.
And if you just look at the world and everything around you, everything's just a miracle. And when you think of it like that, it makes everything so small in comparisons to the reality of where we actually are, right? And by saying that, I'm not trying to, make our problems less. Everything matters. Everything we're experiencing is important, but we just have to have trust. If something can be created so beautifully, what are our problems in comparisons to that? What is our problems in comparisons to this magnificent universe that we're in? And sometimes you just got to zoom out and look at the world and see how it is, and then you do comparisons, and it's just so amazing, this world we're in. And we just have to trust that whatever source created this universe, that's the same source that's in you, and that's the same source that's taking care of you, and you just have to trust in that source. And that's, for me, what faith is. It's literally just that word, trust. And in terms of what Massimo said, which I really loved actually hearing, is that we are all human, and we're going to experience pain, and we have to allow ourselves to feel pain. We have to allow ourselves to accept that we're human, and there's going to be days where we're going to be angry, and we're going to feel all sorts of emotions, and that's okay. If you want to be angry, feel angry. If you want to feel sad, feel sad. Allow yourselves to feel and to process. And that's and you mentioned about, we live in this world where we need to be so perfect and everything is so perfect, and that's so true. And that's where it's important to ground yourself. You need to realign and shift your focus. It's all about shifting focus, which is, I believe, what David was mentioning as well.
So one thing that changed for me over the last year or two is actually that I realized that all the chaos that is around me, or all the chaos that is me sometimes, is all in God's hands. So even wherever I move, whether it's left, right, forward, backwards, always is still in God's hands. And God is so big, he's the creator of all things. He controls and made everything, even the chaos that's around me. So what am I afraid of? What's going to get me? What can get me down then? So, building on that mindset has changed things for me. Now, naturally, there are still some challenging times. This week, for instance, I've had a headache for the last 2 days, and it's been really difficult to concentrate. So what do? You fall back on the small things, because we can't pray and then sit on our hands. We can't have all this massive faith and then go wait outside for something wonderful to happen. We must do. And I always feel better when I'm busy doing, when there are a few small things that I continuously do that I know keeps my momentum going in the direction that I want to be facing in at that time. And of course, I absolutely love what David said earlier about always being able to change your mind. None of the decisions that we make now will be our forever decisions. I mean, if that was the case, I would have probably been a nurse or a doctor or an artist or something that a little 5-year-old me came up with. But I'm not that. And, I'm probably not going to become that ever. So it's exciting to see how we evolve. It's not a scary thing. It should be something that we look forward to. And that's how I convert my negative energy into a positive. Just simply because this moment is the way it is, but I can't wait to see what happens next.
We live in a lie when it comes to time, because what we have been told, that the time is circular. So every 12 hours you reset, you have another 12 hours. And this gives the false perception, looking at the watch, that the time repeats itself. That's not the case. You have really to forget about the circularity of time and think about time like a line. When we are born, when we're going to die, you only know when you were born. You don't know when you're going to die. You don't know how much time is left. And every second that you waste, you are closer to your hand. So if there is something that the starting point to make a change and start to evolve is the urgency, how ST says, I don't know if there is tomorrow, to move now.